What's up everybody? In today's video we have updates on the Mavic 4 Pro, we have the now released O4 Air, we have DJI drones flying into firefighting plans, we've got the Defense Department putting Chinese drone makers on their blacklists, the DJI ban continues to make its way through the US government, and more. Let's jump into it. All right, so we've got tons of DJI news. I'm Joe, this is my channel, Joseph Blake Photography. I took a break for a couple of weeks and got terribly sick. My kids got sick, my wife got sick, so we're just now, you can probably still hear it in my voice, just now getting over this, and I've got a slew of updates and videos to make, so I'm gonna try to get back into it. Obviously, all my social media links down below. You can follow me there. Go and hit subscribe if this is the type of thing that you're into. If at the end of the video you think that I've done a good job, I'd appreciate if you hit the like button. Also, I'm still doing my Instagram giveaway. More details about that at the end of the video. But let's jump into all this DJI news because there really has been a ton in the last few weeks. Starting with the O4 Air has officially been released. We were hearing about this guy for quite some time, and now we actually have it. And it is coming into different flavors, kind of a vanilla flavor and a pro version. Most of the stats that we had originally were based on the pro version, so now we also have this non-pro version. If you're not familiar with the Air series or what this is for DJI, this is an opportunity for FPV enthusiasts who are using their own frames, their own systems to create drones, to create FPV drones, especially for racing and really just kind of doing crazy and innovative things. So when you're building things like that, sometimes you really want to do it from a kit. And so DJI provides a lot of the guts that you would find in some of their higher end drones and smaller mini drones available to creators like this. And these focus primarily on the cameras and the transmission system. So on the camera side of things, we've got two different versions, obviously a pro and a non-pro. The pro is coming in with a 1/1.3 inch sensor that can do 4K at 120. It also supports 10-bit recording in their D-Log-M profile. It has a 155-degree ultra-wide field of view, and in race mode, the Pro model can get under 15 milliseconds of response latency. And because this is a drone, and it supports all of the FPV headsets that DJI makes, it supports up to 15 kilometers of transmission distance and a maximum of 1080p at 100 frames per second transmission quality. And that is at 60 megabits per second. And the Pro unit is 32 grams. So that's the antenna unit, the transmission module, and the camera system. It also has an SD card reader, which the non-pro version does not have. So moving to that one, it does have a 1/2 inch sensor, supports 4K 60 and a 20 millisecond response time. But with that reduction in specs, you also get a significant reduction in size. It's only 8 grams. And while the Air unit does not have an SD card reader, it does come with 32 gigabytes of onboard storage. I'm gonna include just a little bit of footage and a link to another YouTube creator, Drone Supremacy, who has already crashed his O4 Air Pro. This looks like a super fun piece of kit if you are a FPV racer or just a DIY person who loves playing with drones. This is super cool, and I'm glad that DJI is continuing to support this part of the market. Next item from DJI, they have released a new drone, another new drone in 2025, the Matrice 4. Now, previously, these drones were marketed under the Mavic brand as Mavic Enterprise, but they've clearly migrated the Enterprise branding over to the Matrice line with the Matrice 3D and now the Matrice 4, and that the Mavic series will continue to be consumer and prosumer specific. Now, the Matrice 4 does not have the kind of stylings that we were expecting to see out of the Mavic 4. Details on that in just a little bit, but it does borrow quite a bit from the Mavic 3, but still adds quite a few new features and capabilities to its slew of enterprise skills, right? This is not a drone for content creators. This is a drone for professionals who are using these products as a part of their daily work. And this type of work traditionally falls in two different categories. And so they've actually released two different versions of the Matrice 4 to fit these specific needs. There's the 4E and the 4T. The E comes as more of a surveying and inspection device. Now, both drones are coming with 3 cameras, a 24mm, a 70mm, and a 168mm. They also both come with a laser rangefinder. Now, because the E, the 4E, is designed for inspection and surveying, it has the big sensor. It has the micro four thirds, the 4/3 sensor in that package. This is a 20 megapixel sensor that also has a mechanical shutter that can take a photo every 1/2 second. This is great for surveying and mapping. So if you're creating 3D plots of terrain or of buildings or something like that, this is the drone for that type of work. The 4T, however, T stands for thermal. And so instead of the micro four thirds, the 4/3 sensor, it's actually replaced that with a 1/1.3 inch sensor that we've seen in like every DJI drone. And next to it, they've put in a thermal imaging camera. And they've also added a near infrared light that can shoot up to 100 meters. They've also released 2 new accessories to go with these drones, a spotlight and a speaker for things like crowd control. So while the 4E is definitely for people in inspection, surveying, things like that, the 4T is definitely for more kind of municipal and life-saving operations like search and rescue and firefighting. I'm sure there's other applications, and I'm sure that someone will correct me in the comments. Speaking of firefighting operations, I'm sure all of you have been watching the Palisades fire and other fires in California. And while one of the things that DJI has really been touting about their products is the ability to couple them with firefighters and first responders and the types of people that are really saving lives in situations like the Los Angeles fires. And so it's really kind of a bummer to see DJI's name in stories not about helping. Really the opposite of helping. Now, it's not DJI's fault, obviously, but in the current news climate, it's not great to point out the fact that when you put drones in the hands of idiots, they do idiot things. And the FBI has released photos of a drone that looks very much like a DJI Mini that smashed into a scooper plane. Now, these super scooper planes, many of them were on loan from Canada to help in the efforts to fight these fires. The plane was damaged, the drone was destroyed. The plane then had to land, cease operations for some time before it could get back out into the fight, saving people's lives and homes. Now, there was a temporary flight restriction, or TFR, in place around the firefighting area. However, this hasn't been super uncommon when people are trying to get a look. So look, here's the deal. If it's on fire, if you see helicopters and planes in the air, don't. I mean, I would say check your FAA app. There's like 4 or 5 of them. Make sure that there isn't a current restriction in the area that you're trying to fly. And don't. Just don't. It's as simple as that. You put yourself and others at risk when you do this. Fortunately, the plane wasn't seriously damaged. The pilots were not harmed. But again, they did have to cease operations. And sometimes great products fall in the hands of morons. But from a public relations standpoint, it's not good, right? It's not a good look, which is the fact that the Commerce Department has released a bulletin, a notice, saying that drones developed and designed in quote-unquote hostile countries like China and Russia, an unacceptable risk to U.S. national security, adding that these drones may offer our adversaries the ability to remotely access and manipulate these devices, exposing sensitive U.S. data. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I have been talking about the CCP Drones Act and the fact that if implemented, it would restrict DJI drones from being able to access federal communication airwaves. While the restricted version of that law did not pass, another version of it was included in the National Defense Appropriations Bill that allowed the nation's security apparatus to kind of take it upon themselves to decide whether or not they were going to review DJI and Autel, and they had a year to do so. And that if they didn't do a review, they would be automatically placed on the FCC's entities list, and that if they reviewed them and found them to be a risk, they would do the same. Now, I think for the last few weeks, most of the news related to kind of Chinese security has been around TikTok and the impending ban coming on the 19th here of January. But adding to the fact that the Commerce Department is taking another look at DJI products, specifically calling out Chinese-made drones, is another indication that the likelihood of this type of legislation moving forward in the United States is high. Now, I am not trying to make a political statement one way or the other. I get a lot of heat from people in the comments saying that I'm not understanding it, or I'm saying the wrong thing, or look, you can have an opinion about whether or not lawmakers should be focused on this particular subject. whether or not they are properly informed about the potential risk, whether there is any risk, or whether or not this is just a lobbying effort from other companies that are US based. Again, the same argument that we see on the TikTok side of things. I am just expressing what I believe is likely to occur based on my interpretation and perception of the current political climate. You can disagree with me, you can disagree with them. That's your right. And honestly, feel free to blow up my comments, but I think it's coming. And I think seeing a picture of a smashed DJI Mini coming out of a firefighting airplane, probably not a good look. And if you tell me that those things are completely unrelated, then I don't think you understand public relations. And on a side note, just an update, the DoD has updated their list of known entities that are associated with or with foreign military forces. They've added Autel to that list. DJI is already on that list, and DJI has been suing the DoD since October to get themselves removed from that list. That doesn't necessarily directly affect their ability to import products or for you to purchase them in the United States, but it's just one more thing, one more tick against Chinese drone manufacturers. Autel obviously responded and said that they are not a military manufacturer and that they are primarily civilian in their market affiliation. Next, we've got more photos and specs of the Mavic 4. Now, before I get into the specs, I want to mention really quick, I got a comment on a previous video. Someone had said something along the lines of, just go follow Asta LV on Twitter and you'll get all this same information. You're not wrong. Asta LV, I don't know how to say it. Is it Asta La Vista? Come on my channel, let me interview you, and we'll clear it up. But yeah, there's a couple of folks on Twitter who are very good at sussing out and exposing some of the details regarding updated DJI products. I talk about them on this channel all the time. Osita LV, X27 Jasper Ellens, Igor Bogdanov, Quadro News, my favorite Twitter handle ever, Hakasushi. There's definitely usual suspects out there that are really kind of cultivating this information and putting it out on social media, and I appreciate it. And then I put it together and make videos and give you guys my thoughts and opinions. There's a place for all of us. I also do a lot of my own research, and I do have other places that I'm looking, which may be a lot of the same places that they're looking, but in some cases they're just better at it than I am. So yeah, you should absolutely find those folks. But I'm still gonna do what I'm doing. So in a previous video, I talked a lot about the stats that we should expect, the specs on the Mavic 4. And in this kind of next most recent round of leaked specs, a lot of those specs are the same, but some have been slightly tweaked. For example, we're still expecting a Micro Four Thirds sensor, although there was reporting that it might be a 28mm focal length. Now we're back to it being a 24mm focal length, with the big update on that sensor actually being the fact that it will be dual native ISO to significantly improve its ability to operate both in sunny daylight environments as well as nighttime, and that it would have an electronic ND filter. That it would still have the medium and long telephoto cameras, one being a 50mm and one being a 160+ and both being upgraded to the 1/1.3 inch sensor. Both 48 megapixels, although both of those potentially a 1/1.5 instead of a 1/1.3, that I'm not really sure about, but definitely improvements in the lenses in both of those, which is much appreciated considering the fact that on the Mavic 3, that was a 2.8 and a 3.5 f-stop. Now expecting those probably to improve to either 1.7 or 2 and 2.8 respectively. With the main camera getting an upgrade to its variable aperture to f2 to f11. So basically an additional stop of light all the way down the camera system, which again harkens towards their push for low light performance. The other thing that I reported on in that previous video was that the main camera would be a 100 megapixel camera. That has since been kind of thrown to the side, and now what we're hearing is that there will be a 100 megapixel mode in kind of a panorama style. So it will be able to stitch together 100 megapixel images, which makes sense considering the fact that it will have a significant amount of up and downiness. Now we knew that the Cine model was going to be coming with a 2 terabyte, that it will support ProRes 422HQ and 444XQ, which is an insane amount of data. And while the Pro version will not support ProRes, it will have onboard storage that will be bumped up to 512 gigabytes. Still hearing that it will have LiDAR, although from every picture that I've seen, I have no idea where they're going to put that sensor. And it will have multiple fisheye lenses for obstacle avoidance. And additionally, that it will have much improved low noise performance propellers. It will be able to return to home without GPS connection. It will support new OcuSync 4 Plus with the new RC controller, with the potential for 20+ kilometer range and 50+ minutes of flight time with 48 minutes of hover. Okay, and next, I told you there's a ton of stuff to talk about here. We have the Flip, which I'll be real honest, I still don't 100% understand. So it's a sub 249 gram drone like the Mini or the Neo, but it's super lightweight and also comes with a really big battery. So it's gonna operate for over 30 minutes. That it'll support up to 16 meters per second in sport mode, and that it can support flight in windy conditions up to level 5 or 10 meters per second wind. In ideal conditions, it'll be able to cover 14 kilometers of distance, has a camera with a 1.7 f-stop aperture, 24 millimeter equivalent, with the ability to choose between 12 and 48 megapixel stills, 4K 60, 1080p 100, and a cropped vertical mode at 2.7K, with a maximum bitrate of 150 megabits per second in D-Log-M. For obstacle avoidance, it does have a 3D time of flight sensor utilizing LiDAR, as well as visual and infrared sensors. And it does support OcuSync 4 with up to 1080p 60. So really what this feels like to me is somewhere in the Mini 4 Pro kind of area, but in a smaller, lighter package that's foldable, with DJI basically saying, hey, we can make a foldable drone too, and kind of going after hover, because it also supports a lot of the Palm Launch AI features that you get with something like the Neo, which seems to really kind of focus directly at the hover. But again, I'm kind of confused where this drone lands. So let me know down in the comments if this is the type of drone that you're looking for, if you're interested in this, and why. And if you're a person here in the US, do you expect this thing to ever show up on US shelves? So that is it for the DJI news today. I know that was a lot. I appreciate you all hanging on. Don't forget, I am still doing my Instagram giveaway. We're about halfway there. So I've been doing this giveaway for about a month, and I am halfway to 1,000 followers over on Instagram. I get gear all the time from companies who ask me to review their products. A lot of them are waiting for me to finish those reviews, but I've been sick. Here are 3 new boxes that showed up today at the UPS store. So once I review these things, I don't normally keep them because honestly, I don't have a lot of use for them. And so I want to give them to you. I want to give you access to shop my gear vault. To do that, all you need to do is take a look at this video, follow the instructions, and I will see you over on Instagram. Last but not least, I have started creating for our membership here on the channel, where I will be giving away to members free of charge LUTs, Lightroom presets, plugins, and other resources that I have created for myself to help with my YouTube channel. And honestly, I want to give those things away to you free of charge. I mean, it's free, but you do have to be a member, but it's cheap. It's like $1. Additionally, I'll be doing live chats and videos, as well as releasing videos early to members of the channel here in 2025. So check that out, details down below. And again, if you found this video interesting and you're into this kind of stuff, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you thought that this was informative for you, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.